Thank you very much for having us and coming to listen to the case study. I'll start by a short introduction to SafeCharge and myself. So I'm the Chief Commercial in SafeCharge Group. We've been processing payments for more than a decade now, with offices globally from Shenzhen and Singapore all the way to Amsterdam and Milan, London, Israel, where we started basically the business as a risk management platform and acquiring. SafeCharge is an acquiring. We do processing, payment technologies, all of those topics that you've just been hearing over the last couple of days. But today, I actually want to take you into a different aspect of the business. We've noticed that our merchants, whenever they start targeting globally, whenever they start approaching new markets and start using many different payment providers, not only one, they are facing a very simple task, and this is reconciliation of their payment cycles. And as simple as that might sound, when you're reconciling different currencies, different time of settlement and others, we are reaching into a completely different level or scale of an issue, of a challenge. And actually, all of those forms until today were handling mainly the lost revenues from fraud, the lost revenues from conversion. We do take care of all of those aspects, but the lost revenues of not accurate enough reconciliation is by far more challenging to the teams that are targeting globally than all the rest. And that's mainly because all the risk management, the conversion, the payment options, all of that, plenty of providers out there. So I would like to start by introducing Guy and the VP of Payment at Gett to tell you a little bit about the case study that he had with us, and then we'll drill down into the actual solution.
So thank you guys for having me. Gett at a glance. Gett is a mobility service operating in B2C size in 4 countries. We operate in UK, Israel, Russia, and the US. On the B2B side, we operate in many other countries. We sell $1 billion worth of mobility services a year. 20,000 corporate accounts. So we have fairly 14 different payment providers, 2 different gateways, 4 different corporate bank accounts, and all these need to be reconciled. So to go through some of our, I guess, challenges that we face. So some of the issues that we face is all the reconciliation was effectively done manually by various manual tools that we had in-house. And that increased the probabilities of errors, from bookkeeping to massive amount of resources that needs to be implemented and stuff like that, and potential revenue losses that we suffered along the way, and we picked up too late. Some of the unique challenges for our business is the fact that we provide the service before we actually take the money. So if you think about, I'll use one of our competitors as an example. If let's say you are in black taxi, right, and only you finish your ride, the driver sees the meter stands on 10 quid or $10, 10 euro, doesn't matter. Then he'll type the amount on the app, and only then we are able to charge the money, because only then we know how much his ride cost. As a result, it brings us to a different risk layer of effectively giving a credit line to our passengers, and then we need to collect the money after the fact. And again, all that piles in is another exponential area for reconciliation issues. And the flip side of that is we're not just collecting money from the passengers, we're also paying out to our drivers. And we need to be able to reconcile it end to end. So from the time that the passenger click on the app to order a taxi, all the way through getting our money after the fees of the various providers being deducted accurately, and then eventually paying out to our drivers globally. So as part of these challenges and everything that we face manually, we thought, right, that can't work, if we want to scale up, if we want to improve efficiency, if we want to do something more than what we've done so far. So we went to outside for a tender, and that's where we selected the SafeCharge, SafeCharge Reconciliation Manager. And effectively what it brings us automation. So instead of us downloading the various files from the various providers, SafeCharge helps us to take care of that from their own platform. They pull the information, and eventually every day we get a report which is already, for lack of a better word, chewed and analyzed and everything ready for us to start taking actions upon. So instead of spending our time on matching all this sort of stuff, we invest spending our time on actually dealing with the problems that we're facing. It also, as part of it, streamlines all the issues we have from fare splits. So if you have two passengers in a cab and they want to split the fare between them, and some of them paying by coupon, the other one pays with card, and some of the cards has been declined, you see the level of complexity we're having. So all that has been streamlined, again, to that one report or various reports that we're using from SafeCharge. And it helps us spot issues that we have much quicker. So instead of picking up issues a few days after, where it's more difficult to recover the funds, we pick up stuff fairly instantly. And one of the, so we've finished launching a few months ago, and we've kind of came to realize that we saved more than one headcount on this process. It doesn't mean that we're necessarily letting that person go. It just means he's able to focus on the stuff that really matter, which is recovering the losses that the various providers caused by mistakes or by whatever happens. And the snapshot of the information. So any given time, we know how much money we received, how much money is on the way, how much money hasn't been found or reconciled, and where the problem is. So, for example, is the problem within our gateway? Is the problem within our acquirer, or is the problem within somewhere in between, within our system? And that really helps our various finance teams globally to understand where the issue is, and to minimize the time we have until we actually get the capital from our banks. As I said before, one of our risks is the fact that we kind of provide the service before we collect the money. So by having the reconciliation, we are able to pick up issues from the bank. So let's say I finished a ride in a taxi, and my card got declined. So the fact that we have automated reconciliation manager allows us to pick this transaction up quite quickly, and then potentially redirect them to a different provider where the likelihood of that transaction to go through is higher. Now, one of the reasons we've selected SafeCharge, apart from the actual reconciliation, is it's the partnership. And what do I mean? So there are quite a few reconciliation partners out there, but when you're dealing with the level of complexity of payments that we face, again, we have 14 acquirer banks worldwide in various jurisdictions. Then you need someone to understand payments, who understand the needs of payments. And when you sit with that person, if that person immediately picks up your challenges and you raise some stuff you haven't really thought about as well, then it helps you. Then you know you're in a good solution. So it's not about just a provider and a merchant, but it's a kind of finding the right partnership that you have to grow your business further, or to allow yourself to maximize your efficiency and minimize your losses. And that's what we had throughout the process with SafeCharge, from the RFP that we've been through all the way through to the actual setup and launch. Which brings me back to invite Yuval to explain a bit more about your product, because we don't use everything, but I'm sure you can go through it.
So I think that the main three questions that I'm being asked about the services. The first one is obviously, okay, so how do I start? How can I test it? I have my own teams doing reconciliation. How do I know if it's going to contribute more? Why don't I don't want to invest too much of effort in order to start testing it. So the first thing first is understanding what the whole solution is about. The SafeCharge Reconciliation Manager is basically helping merchants to reconcile, first of all, with the transaction level. We are looking at each transaction, understanding the commission from the payment providers, seeing if the commission is properly defined within the online processing. We're looking at daily basis, not only weekly or monthly, allowing the merchants to speed up the reconciliation, obviously assuring the revenues are coming back to the pocket faster. Obviously, on settlement review, so as you know, some of the payment methods or some of the payment partners will settle daily, some weekly, twice a week, depends on the payment method, some even in a delays of up to 3 weeks if it's a mobile payment or any similar. Our system knows to identify all of those parameters of delays, of settlement frequency, and reconcile all of them properly. We are monitoring the balance both on the payment provider side and on the banking facilities of the merchants. And overall, we are closing the entire cycle from payment processing all the way to the banking relations. We are even capable of approaching those providers on the merchant's behalf and helping reconcile faster. So what are the main parameters of or what is the main flow of the reconciliation manager? The first thing is gathering the information. There is no need for integration, no need for an API, no need for servers, nothing. We are just getting the data from you. You are allowing us the access to your systems. We can get in and get the information online, making sure that the whole parameters are covered. We are doing the cross-checks both on the banking side and on the provider side, making sure that everything is automated, and basically making sure that all the teams that are doing it manually, usually on the merchant side, can rely on a stable system in stable reporting instead of looking at manual Excels and lists. If there is any mismatch, we can also solve the mismatch either by approaching the provider, approaching the merchant, and providing him the information where the mismatch is and what to take a look at in order to improve the system. And obviously, it depends on the type of the reconciliation manager services that you will choose. We can also approach all the way and online divert the traffic properly in a way that will reflect if there is any mismatch, then we'll skip into the next provider. Again, depends on the type of the services. We can approach the banking facilities, and make sure if there are any delays in settlement, if there are any missing settlement, gather all the information and supply it with the merchant. So basically, we are placing the reconciliation manager in between the payment processing provider, the unique acquiring gateway, all the way to the banking services, in between doing all the reconciliation for that. The main parameters to remember on the reconciliation manager of SafeCharge, the first one is obviously that it supports all types of payment providers, payment methods. You do not have to process with SafeCharge in order to get the service. Service is supplied over across multiple acquirers, multiple processors, and multiple alternative payment options, and we can reconcile it for you, helping you to achieve the reconciliation files from all of them. It's easy to implement. You do not have to integrate. Everything is accessible by SafeCharge. No need for any type of specific technical requirements. Therefore, you can do A/B testing with your existing reconciliation process versus SafeCharge. We have dedicated account manager that is analyzing and helping you to understand the reporting and making all of those information accessible online. And obviously, I think that this product, the first and outmost, is helping merchants to grow and target globally. We have two types of services. So the first one, which is actually what Gett is using today, this is the automated reconciliation manager, where we are basically reconciling all the information automatically. So we are receiving the information from the merchants, we are identifying any kind of mismatch, and we are reporting it directly to the merchant. Then the merchant will go and will handle it separately with the banking or with the payment providers. And the alternative, and this is the Reconciliation Plus, in which on top of receiving all those mismatches and identifying them, we represent the merchant, we go directly to the payment providers, we react on the merchant behalf, and we can even change, if we do identify mismatches, we can even change the traffic management to a different acquirer, to a different gateway, according to the requirements of the merchants. So thank you very much. That's the Reconciliation Manager of SafeCharge, and we'll take Q&A later on.
Thank you. Thank you.